Parents of Reddit, have you ever caught your child watching pee? And if so, did they know you caught them? How did it play out? Oh god. So my mom asked for the laptop because we were about to order something from Amazon. It was my younger brother's laptop, so me, mom, and him were there at the table and she types A for Amazon, but the first result was amazing college big asses. Girls never laughed so hard in my life. Mom wasn't surprised though. Amazon, I'm college big asses girls. Poor kid was doomed from the get-go. I'm not a parent, but when I was maybe 11 or 12, I tried to print some pictures from a website on our home printer. For some reason nothing would print no matter how many times I tried. Being young and dumb, I didn't bother to troubleshoot but just closed the browser and figured it wasn't going to happen. Weeks later, I hear my mom screaming at me from upstairs as like a dozen nude pictures spit out of the printer. She wasn't very tech savvy and we were new to having a computer, so she must have mistakenly unpaused the print queue. Because we had one of the 3-in-1 printers, I was able to talk my way out of it by saying somebody must have faxed it to us by mistake. My mum caught me. She just shook her head and closed the door. She then told me the next day to maybe try and do it in the shower in the future as it's less messy. He didn't know. I came home early from work one day, and coming through the garage, I see him at the computer in the family room, naked as can be and his arm flailing and somewhat appeared to be a typical pee on the screen with headphones on. My brain presented the Terminator menu options of the right thing to say, but I opted for nothing. I snuck back out, sat in my truck and played on my phone. He shares a bedroom with his brothers. We have one bathroom. I understand his predicament. He has small windows of time to take care of business. I think I earned some dad points on that one. If I ever told my wife that story, she'd have a heart attack. She knows he does it, but doesn't want to think about it. My dad dealt with catching me rather well. The first time I wanked after pee, I used my dad's work laptop when he wasn't home for the night. I was so young and inexperienced at the time that I thought the only way to do doggy style, which was my favorite to watch, was to have anal. So after countless anal videos, the work laptop finally locked me out for suspicious activity before I could delete any evidence or browser history. Panicked and terrified, I put the laptop back in its place and pretended like nothing was wrong. The next day my dad had to go to his work only to figure out that his computer was locked out due to an excessive amount of anal pee videos. He came home that day with a red face and a Victoria's Secret magazine and told me to stick with the old-fashioned way like he used to do it. No yelling, no anger, just a simple talk and a lingerie magazine. I couldn't imagine the embarrassment when trying to get his computer unlocked at work. You know company policy, no more than 4 hours of anal a night. Apparently my mother found pee in the history and immediately goes to my father in a panic thinking it was him. My father then goes to my brother and asks him about it. My brother was cool and took the blame and later taught me about history and cookies. I was 9 and there has been parental controls on the computer ever since. Not my kid, but my nephew. Knocked on his door to let him know I was bringing in his folded laundry, waited a minute with no reply, walked in to set the basket down and realized he didn't reply because he had his headphones in. There was a split second of eye contact, and I walked back out and started dinner. He gets to the kitchen for dinner later and starts stammering out some kind of excuse or apology and I just threw my hand up. I don't care. You aren't in trouble. Sorry I didn't knock louder. Here's dinner. I've never seen someone look so relieved. My husband asked what that was all about and I just said, nothing important. I actually caught my dad looking at pee. He is not very tech savvy, so he didn't have a computer then, so he was using mine in my room. I guess he didn't hear me come home and when I opened my door he just stood up to block the screen and then he manually pressed the power button to shut the computer off. He wasn't whacking it or anything. Duh, he was looking for the right video before he got down to business. Not a parent, but on the night before my 16th birthday I was staying up late to see my AP score right when it was released at 5 in the morning. At about 3 I decided to rub one out, and after the deed was done I fell asleep. My mom found me in the morning, on my birthday with pee open on my TV screen. Parental locks on everything after that. Was forced to get creative from then on. Our computer was in my little brother's room. We had the desk and printer in there and everything. My mom needed to print something but the printer wasn't working, so she called me to help. The 3 of us Mom, bro and I were all in the room as I tried to fix the printer. It turns out there was a paper jam, so as soon as I fixed the jam, all the printing jobs starting printing out, one by one. The first page starts printing out, and I immediately see it's a picture of a naked woman. My mom is starting to say what is that, but I quickly pulled it out of the printer before it could finish, crumpled it up, and threw it away. Wait, why did you do that? That was what I was printing. Mom, no, it wasn't. Seriously, you're driving me crazy. Can you just leave? I'll tell you when it's fixed. Seriously, please get out now. I acted really annoyed and PR'd my mom, who totally didn't deserve it, and then watched as the printer printed out page after page after page of the same naked woman. My 11-year-old brother apparently kept hitting print because the printer wasn't working, so it ended up printing about 30 pages total. I looked at my brother and just said, dude, don't freaking do that anymore. Plot twist, that was what your mum was printing. One weekend my parents went rifling through my room while I was away. Don't remember where I went, but they had the entire weekend to search my room. I was probably 14. I had my stash of pee pictures hidden on the top shelf of my closet underneath a box. I thought it was the best hiding spot ever. There was pictures of feet, girls with CM on their face, up close coochie shots. I was 14, so my pee game wasn't advanced yet. Anyways, apparently my mother found them and freaked out at what kind of pee I was looking at. She threw them all into a garbage bag along with all the other trash they had found. My dad salvaged my pee treasures from the garbage and put them back where she had found them. I get home, my dad just says, "Mom found your pictures in your closet. You should find a better hiding spot." Not my own children, but my friend and his girlfriend asked me to block all internet access on their two sons' tablets. They're both 7. I followed the history, and it started innocently enough with pictures of girls. The next search was pictures of naked girls. It was all videos starring big, black dongs from there on out. One of them was trying to get to the same website the next day at school, but it was restricted. The other boy admitted that he had been using his grandmother's Kindle to access similar videos. The whole situation was very disturbing to the parents, but I couldn't get over the thought of grandpa finding big, black dongs on grandma's Kindle. That made me laugh at a time that was absolutely not appropriate. You're never more than a few clicks away from big black dongs. My dad was installing something on my computer about 7-8 years ago, and when he went to type in the search bar, hintefoundry.com was the first thing to pop up. He saw the look of concern on my face, clicked it to find out what it was, and upon seeing a splash image of a cartoon woman holding her boobs, he said, "You better be on your best behavior or I'm telling your mother." Probably one of the most awkward moments of my teenage years. I was obsessed with Titanic and The Notebook, so I would look up the kissing scenes on YouTube, and it eventually progressed to me googling freaking. For the longest time, I would just watch pee out of curiosity. I didn't have any urges acted upon them. I was just genuinely interested in intercourse, and would just click on video after video. I didn't know about clearing the search history, but this was my family computer, so my parents definitely saw their 9-year-old daughter had been watching hardcore pee all day. They never said anything, and I only realized recently how weird that must have been. My parents found out about me watching pee. It was actually my frickhead younger brother who left the search history a mess, but they thought he was too young at the time, and I was watching pee anyway, so I figured I had just screwed up. Anyway, they flipped their crap. I was grounded for months. They put a strict parental lock on the computer. Couldn't even use the internet after 7 PM. I wasn't even allowed to leave my room. My father demanded that I read my Bible every day. It was bad. Obligatory, not a parent, but elder step-sibling. My mother and her ex-husband once found a whole bunch of links to pee sites in the browser history, specifically Pokemon pee videos, like male Misty, engaging in Pokemon bestiality. I specifically remember a Wobbuffet being mentioned. We ended up with a whole bunch of crap wrong with our computer, which is how they ended up finding out. Cue my stepfather, screaming, "Why can't you even freaking look at regular girls?" at my stepbrother. Pokeporn became a running gag in the long run though. To be fair, if my kid was attracted to a Buffet instead of something normal like Gardevoir or Lopunny, I'd be concerned too. So have I got a story. At my house around Christmas we usually have a bunch of people over. Family friends from all over come and spend a few days. So one day my mom was up early and went on the computer where she found P up on Google. Now I was about 14ish at that time with my brother being 12. My friends who were here were 12, 17, and 20, so it could have been any of us. So my mom asked and none of us said it was us. But my brother and I were the obvious suspects. So after a few days the heat died down and nothing became of it. 5 years later when I was 19, about a year ago, I was on my dad's phone to Google something as my phone was dead, and I found how he was Googling P, but just left it up on Google and didn't close it, so anyone would see it if they opened his phone. Then it hit me that it was him that fateful night, as any of us kids wouldn't have been stupid enough to leave it open. That's when I called the 20-year-old friend at the time and told him, as he thought it was me. We had a good laugh that the mystery was finally over. Not a parent, just older brother. I was watching TV, and my brother was on the computer, which was behind the couch I was sitting on. I hear an overwhelming silence, and turn around to see my younger brother staring into a P compilation video, and I just turned around and kept watching TV, desperately trying not to think about it. I have caught my son watching P once where I left work early, and he was on headphones. Don't think he knew, but now that I'm an adult, it's really easy for parents to know what you're doing. But that doesn't mean you stop beating your meat, kids. I accidentally hit back on the family computer after my 8-year-old son had been using it. It opened up a Google search for small bobs. My wife was like, I'm not sure if I should feel insulted or complimented. Not the same thing. But when I was 13 I was jerking it and my dad walked in. It wouldn't have even been that bad if he had confronted me, but I saw him and hastily tried to hide it, and he just started laughing his ass off. It hurts to think about to this day. Obligatory, not a parent, but frick it, my little brother is roughly 8 years younger than I am, so at the time of his most embarrassing tale, he was about 12. We are a somewhat large family. There are 6 of us all together, and we only had one family laptop. I opened it up one afternoon to do some browsing and found hentai P. Obviously it wasn't me. I look at hentai on my phone in an incognito tab like a goddamn adult. So I call in the boy. The boy takes one look at the screen and explodes into denials. I, the adult in his life, his role model, his big sister who has now seen his P preferences, burst out laughing. Then I teach him how to delete his history and inform him that if I ever see it again, I'm changing the default browser to Bing. You're probably joking about the Bing thing, but it actually is much better for finding P than Google is. Never got caught in the act, but I am quite sure I saw a playlist containing some of the videos I watched when my dad left his computer unlocked, and I happened to notice in the early 2000s. That was sort of weird. My mom once remarked that it's funny how your room is a pigsty but your women are sorted out neatly. This was back in the early 90s when PCs and such weren't that common, so whenever I had the time I downloaded pics. Videos were rare then, and printed them out and kept them in neat little folders I hid in a bottom drawer. My mom obviously found them. This happened last year and it was a really close friend of mine. Some background. At the time we were 1 year past college graduation and he was still living at his parents' house working and saving money to get his own place. Also his parents are super religious. Anyway, after years of whacking it to free low quality internet P, the guy decides to up his game and illegally torrent some 1080p goodness. I'm talking Brizz's high quality hour-long videos. All is well and he has racked up quite a collection, until his mom gets a warning letter from Xfinity in the mail. Someone on their account had been illegally downloading copyrighted material. Then the letter proceeded to list all of the videos he had downloaded. His dad proceeded to read this list out loud at the dinner table in front of him, his mother and his older brother. Of course later on the dad and brother talked him to on the side and had a laugh, but his mom still hasn't gotten over it to this day. And as good friends we will never let him live it down as well. My mom's boyfriend was always snooping in my room, so he eventually found a bunch of hentai pictures I had printed like 2 years prior to the incident. No confrontation. He just yelled at my mom about how sick and disgusting I was. He was such a freaking butthole, lol. I went to a Christian high school. One of my closest friends has a younger brother in junior high, who went on a church retreat. The camp counselor, who I went to high school with, thought it would be a good idea to tell a large group of preteens that he struggled with addiction to pee. This resulted in my friend's brother coming home to his mom asking, "Mom, what kind of drug is pee?" My dad caught me jerking my gherkin to Nat Geo channel when they were showing topless African tribes women. It was the most humiliating moment of my life at that time. This was over 20 years ago when pee was really only accessible when I could convince my older brother to hook me up with a mag. My dad just laughed. He still laughs about it to this day. I get a chuckle out of it too. My parents caught me stealing my dad's pee. Backstory: when I was in high school, mid-90s, I don't know what my parents were doing, but my dad had a bunch of PVHS tapes, and I found out he was keeping them under the couch in his room. Apparently I was really ballsy because I would sneak into their room when they were asleep on Friday, Saturday nights, get one of the videos from under the couch, have a late night jerk-a-thon and then put it back in the morning. I did this a couple times, then woke up one Saturday morning to hear them in their room going, "Well, where could it be? It was here yesterday," and I knew I was in trouble. I snuck it back, and later that day, my mom called me and my next youngest brother, 1 year younger, into their room and gave us a lecture, with no one actually admitting fault. Apparently my brother had been watching the videos too somehow. After that they kept all the pee in a padlocked Rubbermaid box, the kind with the hinge lid, in their closet. I figured out how to take the hinge pins out of that and get into it too. Never underestimate the resolve of horny teenage boys to get pee once they find it. My family is nudist and we teach our kids that touching yourself isn't sinful or anything, but you still need to do it in private. I've walked in on my older 2 sons doing it and they are nonchalant most of the time. I haven't actually seen screens or anything, but sometimes my son is looking at his phone while going at it, and he acts super guilty when I walk in. Not sure if he is looking at pee or what, but no big deal. Only time I caught someone was this summer when we visited family. We were staying with my sister and she asked me to go grab my nephew's tablet. He was sleeping next to it, and so I just grabbed it without waking him up. I looked at what he had up and yep, pee. I closed it before bringing it to his mom and that was it. You have been visited by the bee of jazz. Like this video to have your ears filled with cool jazz. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.